It is you. Feature shoe number 1. Give me a clap.
That wasn't even.
Do that again.
That was really bad. That was bad.
Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Michelle. I'm a co-founder of Eres, and I will be your host for Eres You series. Well, I'm sure everybody, and by everybody I mean me, is wondering, how did you two meet?
Mickey was my boss. I know. So she was my supervisor. That's the easy. I don't know. Yeah. We worked together at a feminist youth program called State National Leadership Project, and I was teaching. We had seen each other in so many spaces, and I was like so hesitant to apply for this job as faculty for the summer. And I had this reproductive justice course in my head, and I wanted to teach it. And I would see Mickey every week somehow, some way. We just kept running into each other. And she was like, apply. I'm waiting for your application. Apply. Okay. And I applied, and I got the job, and we spent that summer together. So it's beautiful, like building a friendship alongside so many other people, building new friendships. And that was like summer 2013. Yeah.
And when I think back to that time, it's really interesting that Brittany has this memory of me being like, apply. But I knew that Brittany needed to be in the space. I knew that the space was not going to be the same if she wasn't there. And I didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, and also was pretty young in organizing programming, and the fact that, at 23, I was in charge of a summer institute program that focused on social justice and feminism and youth leadership for 65 young women was really incredible. But I knew that I could not do that by myself, right? And so having these incredible and brilliant organizers, activists as faculty members was how that work happened. And Brittany was in the space 2 days a week. And the days that she was in the space, I felt held, even though I was meant to be holding her. As a person who was coming to the space to facilitate, I was supposed to make sure that she had her materials and that things were ready for her when she got there. And there were so many ways that she held me in my leadership that summer and then beyond. And I think for people who do this work, sometimes we meet people and we recognize how special they are in our life, but we also life is happening, things are moving forward. And so we had this relationship somewhat at a distance at first. I knew that I loved Brittany, but I don't think that I don't know if she knew how much I loved her until we started building outside of a workspace as well. And she would be at her respective office and I would be at mine, and we'd be G-chatting and program planning and dreaming things up together, affirming each other, reminding each other I see you, you're necessary. And then 2 full years later, I guess it took us 2 full years after that. So Brittany and I share a birthday week. Our birthdays are 4 days apart. We're Aquariuses. Hey. And we started having this commitment of celebrating our birthdays together. And so when we were getting ready to turn 25, we had all these intentional meetups planned. And we were okay, we're turning 25. Who are we in this world? Are we where we thought we would be at 25? Right. And the answer was no, because
nobody is.
Yeah. And as young people, the timeline that we had for our life was completely different.
For me, I'm really?
Yeah, exactly. And I was also at this place where I really needed and wanted sisters in this work. And I had, I think deep in my heart from the beginning was Brittany's gonna be my sister. But at first we were friends in passing, coworkers, colleagues, comrades, but not sisters yet. And then we met up as we entered into our 25th year. And I think at that moment made a deep commitment to each other and to creating something together. And so it felt kind of natural then to continue that.
I think that while Mickey manifested our loving sisterhood and friendship, I definitely manifested that I would always be accountable to her way before I even knew that was a thing.
You two are so cute.
I think we have a really good story, you know.
And no, I feel that 100%. It really resonates a whole lot. As I look over, she's not looking at me. So how was Homegirl Box born then?
Ooh, I love the story because it's so many twists and turns and plot twists. Okay, so leaving off from where Mickey started, we met up for our 25th rotation around the sun, and we were just recounting the work, the labor, the moments, and really again wanting to build something. And you know, we had like, I guess the question that we put out was like, how do we celebrate women in our lives? How do we acknowledge, you know, the work that is done across, like, not just in, you know, I think people have this like real definition of activism, but many of us are like undoing so many things in all of our work, culture change, art, to have that understanding and celebration and solidarity. And so we wanted to figure out like, yo, how do we capture that? Like, what do we put that in? We put it, do we put that in a box, you know? And we put it in a box. And so that was also during the time when people were, subscription box land was really emerging in 2015. But it took a while for this to like come off the ground, right? We are organizers, we are youth workers, we are so many things. We were not box makers or, you know, or entrepreneurial in that way. And so it started off with this giant box. Like this box probably half of this table. It was a huge box. It would have never traveled by USPS, FedEx, none of that. They would have never DHL, nothing. It was a really, really big box. And actually I had like gifted Mickey this big box for her transition to another job. And so like, it was this huge box. We're like, this is the Homegirl Box. This was not the Homegirl Box. In fact, the Homegirl Box wasn't even called the Homegirl Box. It was called the Goddess Box. So, and goddess had a different meaning back then. Like it was inspired by the goddess shirt that had Angela,
Audrey, Belle, and Gloria.
Yeah, it was really inspired by that, and so we called it the Goddess Box. A year later,
I think it's also important to mention that Brittany was in graduate school getting a dual degree at that time. Master's in public health and in social work. And then at one point, like we were also like communicating across like time zones, place, because Brittany was in Guyana. And so, yes, exactly.
I forget that. Oh yeah, and then I came back, and then I went to DC. So I was like all over the place. We were not ever sharing the same place together, but we were still planning, and we were just still dreaming up as we could. And then one summer, 2016, it was a hot summer day. It was so hot that day. That's all I remember is it being mad hot.
We were like, our bodies were like sticking to the couch. It was like that kind of New York heat.
And so we sat on the couch. We were like, yo, it's game time. You know what we're going to do? We're going to buy a piece of the internet. It's going to be called thegoddessbox.com, right? So we roll up on GoDaddy, like, let's buy this domain. It's taken, okay? It's taken. So like imagine like your heart being broken in that moment. So it was taken, and you know, we didn't see that as like, this is the thing that we had been dreaming about. We built pitch decks. Like we had it, we just we did not have, you know, we didn't make the thing. And so we looked on the website to find out who the Goddess Box was, and it was like some lady selling dream catchers and sand. And so we were even more in a box. We were even more yikes. We were like, this was your vision? Okay.
Then we were like, do we buy it from her? Like,
how do we do this?
Yeah, and then I think we took it from like a message from the universe that like that wasn't our name, but that our work like was meant to continue. And so I think at that moment we were heartbroken, and we were looking at each other like, is this not meant to be?
And hot, devastating hot. It wasn't. So then we started throwing out names, and then, you know, our original vision was like, let's talk about the celebration of the girls, you know, the women and folks in the box. And then it moved to like, you know, who are we in this? What do we, you know, it's a gift box. Who do you give this to? And we went through lots of names, and we landed on Homegirl, and I didn't like it at first, apparently. Like, I was not with it. I have no memory of that part. But I didn't like it. So we made a plan to like go sleep on it. Like, let's go home, let's sleep on it. And we met up at like 8 o'clock in the morning the next morning at our favorite like breakfast place called Cheryl's Global Soul in Crown Heights. And we decided like the Homegirl Box will be the name. And we bought our piece of the internet. And so for anybody who ever wants to start a thing, just go buy your piece of the internet. You don't know what you're going to do with it, but when you feel like it is, just go get that domain from GoDaddy, Squarespace, whoever those people are. And we bought it, and we bought it in every version so people can never mess it up. And yeah, that was the thing. And we bet it on ourselves. So we set a focus group date and we set a launch date. Like in that, like there, we were like, we're launching on December, like something, whatever the date was. And then we just did it. Like our first launch, I call it like the Feminist Jordan launch. We sold 50 boxes in less than 12 hours. And it was yeah. And like, it was like, oh, the universe needs this. The world needs this. And the rest is history.
That's amazing. A lot of perseverance for sure. And I mean, that's like part of the work, right? So I do want to know a little more on like the vision that you see for Homegirl Box and like
It's continuously evolving in like the ways that we envision it growing and moving forward. But I think at like the heart of what we wanted to create a space for celebration. We wanted to celebrate our homegirls. We wanted to be celebrated and to be seen fully in the work that we were doing. And we wanted to recognize that this was actually hard, laborious, intense work that often falls on women and especially women of color in our communities to hold. That like it is women who are checking in on each other and making sure that we're okay, that we're surviving, that we're like continuing to exist. And so how do we like center and acknowledge that labor and to say that it's actually worthy of celebration? And so I think that is like one of the first like hopes and intentions that we had. And we also wanted to be clear that like it wasn't just about people celebrating each other. It was also an opportunity for you to celebrate yourself, for you to say like actually in a world that constantly devalues me and constantly doesn't see me, whether that's in like our workspaces and like the structures that we exist in and in patriarchy and white supremacy, that we can see ourselves and that we deserve to be here and to exist. So that was one part. And then the other part was that we wanted to do political education work and like not and like be true to our roots as organizers, to recognize that there's like so many women who we have like inherited this work from, so many women that we are continuing this work with, and so many young women that we want to leave this work to. And so what does it mean for us to bring that legacy and those legacies into this box? And maybe to highlight women that people have heard of before, but that their legacy has been lost. Or their like political legacy, I should say, has been lost, like in the example of Frida Kahlo, who was our first box, or for women who maybe no one knows their names. And we continue to benefit off of their legacy and their work, but their names are not known to us and their stories are not known to us. And so the second part that we wanted to manifest was like actually celebrating all of these fierce, what we like to say, bold and visionary women.
Like, you know, it only takes a person that's actually a part of the Homegirl Box community to like see it. And so we, you know, if you go to our website and the frequently asked questions page, it's like, damn girl, $60, right? It's really a question of like, you know, we are in Amazon culture where you can get something in 2 days and 3 days, you know, shipping, but we're not asking like who manufactured that, like how were they paid, how is this, you know, what went into this. And I think we thought a lot about that. And it was on Friday when I was like, I don't know, it needs to be like $100, because I, you know, there's a part where we like stick things together and we assemble the boxes, and then we have this like this iridescent paper that has to be hand crinkled and spread out, but also like putting stamps on a postcard, so it's pre-addressed to a young person who's incarcerated, right? Like that's a very intentional part. Or having a size range of like the Homegirl Box, if you buy a Homegirl Box, it has 7 sizes, because there's so many experiences of Mickey and I being able to wanting to buy something or purchase something and it didn't come in our size, right? And so one of the forms of I think like oppression or like, you know, violence that isn't talked about is around size. around like fat phobia or folks, you know, we only are catering to one side. So we made it an effort to like, we go from small to 4X so that everyone can have a homegirl box if they choose. And that is like, you know, if you're just saying small to 4X, but that's really 7 different types of boxes. Okay. So there's like all of those pieces. And, you know, the homegirl box is incorporated as a cooperative, which means that the people, the way that our business is set up is that we are the founders and we are 2 owners that work. But as we grow and as we expand, everyone that comes to work for the Homegirl Box will also own the Homegirl Box. And so it's not like we just created this thing and now we'll have like, you know, employees. It's that if you are giving your labor and your love and pouring yourself into this experience, you also are deserving of ownership of the thing that you are creating. And that felt very special for us to go through an incorporation process that had us be a co-op.
Yeah. I think like there's so much that like our hearts are in this box and it really does feel like a labor of love. So even when people say like, oh, you're business owners or oh, you're entrepreneurs, like yes, we are. And I think it's important, and it's been hard for me, but I think it's important that we claim those titles. And we also like have contributed to something that we believe needs to exist in the world. And we refuse to compromise on our values as we did it. And so recognizing that like the co-op movement is in an effort to see economic justice as possible within our work so that we don't have to create businesses where some people get rich and people who are working at those businesses make less than minimum wage or are in conditions of work that don't allow them to see their families or don't even allow them to even buy the products that they're making. And so the cooperative movement is the one that we're really inspired by and wanted to be a part of, and one that I think we think really recognizes labor of people in a way that like traditional businesses that have like a profit line and operate, you know, within all these other structures of power and systems of power don't. And so yeah, we're worker owners. The working part is real. We like we pack the boxes, we lift the boxes, we like all those things in like a 3-floor walk up in Brooklyn. And so that's real. And then also like every box like we touch, right? Like we know what every single element is. We like put the boxes together. We know where all of our items are sourced, where they're from. We make sure that like as we're working with creators and partners that folks are not using prison labor, that people are like intentional as we want to be in our work and our business about how they make their items and their products. And it sparked a lot of really great conversations with like creators that we've worked with too. So one of like my favorite parts of the Homegirl box is that we include her story cards in each box. And Brittany and I are like movement nerds. Like we study all of the women and folks that we like feature in the boxes. We watch every interview that they've ever done. If there's a movie about their life, we go and see it. Books that they've written, poetry that they've gifted to the world.
Our boxes are on sale in a store in Philadelphia called the Sable Collective, and when we went to visit them after they got there like 2 Decembers ago, and so we were really excited because we had never had our boxes in the store, and so they were on display, and they were underneath this Ella Baker this portrait, and I cried because I was looking at our boxes, but I'm sure Eyewitness Mickey cried because she was looking at them under Ella Baker. And so like I remember that experience. I remember walking in, I remember seeing the boxes and like literally they're under Ella. And I knew Mickey's like all of the things and all the ways that, you know, Ella, the elements of Ella and her appreciation for Ella Baker. And this portrait that is made by one of our homies like is also a full art piece. Like when you start buying adult art, when you know it adult art when it's like it's not, you know, it's way beyond the hundreds of dollars.
It's not a print.
Yeah, it's adult art. So it's like the art that costs the monies in the galleries that you look at the tag and you turn it back and you go, ooh, that's nice. And so I was committed in making that happen. And so like I opened up an account just to save for this artwork. And it's in Philly, and so they also were like, how do we ship this? And I was like, it's okay. And so I had my sister drive it up from Philly to New York. And so, I could have made a Her Story card and I could have put it in a box, but I thought that nothing like that moment when she first saw it, nothing was bigger than that. And so I think, a part of the Homegirl Box is not just like who we curate the boxes around, but the ability to see yourself in those people. And so I wanted to spark joy in that. And it was great to watch. I have a whole video of her opening it up. Yes.
Yeah, it was so special for me to have that gifted. And I think, sometimes when we talk about each other, I think people don't even understand the love and the sisterhood that goes into creating something together. And then also there have been many homegirl meetings that have been completely derailed by our lives, right? Moving through heartbreak, loss, grief, transitions, just life. And the ways that that has to always take precedence in our work, and the ways that we choose to recenter each other, even when there's lots of places where we often feel like we're not ever going to be centered.
All that you touch, you change, right? That's Octavia Butler. And so I think that even when we're creating the box, it's very important for us to be at a good place in our, in our experiences with each other before we do this, before we create this thing that people potentially will give to a person that they love.
I was gonna say, I also feel like we have an incredible community that supports us in being able to show up in these ways and do this. It was our vision. And I think in a lot of ways, what's been beautiful to see the last few years is us putting this out in the world with our own fear, right? With being what does it mean to put this out into the world, and to be the co-founders of it, and to be visible in the ways that we are. It's always amazing to me when we go to a place and we know that someone got something from the Homegirl Box, either because it's an exclusive item, or it's just the thing that's in our box. And we're like, oh wow, where did you get that from? And they're like, the Homegirl Box, let me tell you all about it. And we're like, yes, tell me all about it. What do you know about the Homegirl Box? But also there's so many folks that are part of these packing parties that we say. It really is a party, right? We have who's on the DJs, we have a homie Azizi who takes our photos and make sure that we're able to document our journey and all of the creations in the boxes. Our sisters Sade, Stephanie, Brittany, and lots of other homies who stop by have really helped us create this. And it feels like an opportunity to even bring people together. Which I didn't ever think or envision. But homegirl parties, people look forward to the invitations. There was one time where we were kind of crunched for time. We had one weekend and we were we have to just pack the boxes ourselves. And people found out that we packed the boxes and they were like, where was my invite? Why didn't I get it?
They were mad about it.
Yeah, they were upset. And I think that was the first time for me that I had the full recognition of what our work and the spaces that we create meant to people, that they actually were just as excited as us to be a part of the process. And that I think is really special.
Again, you both are super inspiring. And this conversation, I haven't even paid attention to my, I'm looking at this and I'm just what colors did I choose? What am I doing here? Because I was just so enamored and engaged with both of you. We can totally show yours though, because
well, also thank you, right, for creating a safe space for us to be able to share our story. I think doing an interview is something that's really new for us. This is our first official interview together that's on video, and it means a lot that it's with y'all, that it's with Eres, to really think about who are we in the world, what are we wanting to create and build. So thank you for inviting us, and also for making it easy for us to share. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're your first.
Yes. Yes, I don't know. I feel like I was trying to channel Angela. The hair got a little interesting.
Afro ombre. I did Oshun.
Yes, I love this hair.
You know,
it's the same.
Well, as you both know, Ray has been over there creating some magic.
Yes.
So she's gonna reveal her masterpiece now. Are we ready?
Should we do a drum roll?
You guys are so inspiring. I love listening to you guys talk today. I mean, for me, this is also a metaphor of how like beautiful you are as individuals, and then when you come together, like there's just so much amazing magic that happens. So thank you for what you do and what you give to the world every single day. Thank you.